Dogs on strike. Samir saw Chunudada's Jonga as it turned into the main road. Chunudada was returning to his farm after 6 days. He had gone to town to buy a pair of Great Danes for the farmhouse. "Hello, Chunudada." Samir shook hands with his brother as he stepped down from his Jonga. Chunudada hugged him. 7 small dogs, Buddha, Dopu, Callie, Cherry, Perry, Pixie, and Toonie ran out of the house, tails wagging. Chunudada was very fond of his dogs. Each one tried to lick his face as he kneeled to pat them. The little black dachshund, Callie, the most affectionate of them all, struggled to make her way towards him. He picked her up and walked towards Toonie, who stood behind the group. She was heavy with a litter and unable to jump about and play like the others. She waited patiently for her turn to be patted. "How is Mama to be?" asked Chunudada. Toonie wagged her tail. Samir went inside with Chunudada. "Have you brought the dogs?" he asked. "Oh yes." "But what have you been doing?" asked Chunudada, grasping Samir's hand affectionately. "I went for a ride on the tractor with Thermavir." "That's good. So you are enjoying your holidays, aren't you?" "Of course, Dada. It's so wonderful. Watching the paddy plantation, tractor rides every day, playing with the loveliest dogs on earth, and—" A call from Ganga Singh interrupted their conversation. "Your meal is ready. Come and get it." Your Parag, the dogs could hardly conceal their excitement as they heard the lattle of dogs' plates. Dopu and Pixie leapt over the rest as they made for the backyard. "You see, Dada, Dopu and Pixie just cannot resist food. They're always hungry," Samir laughed. "Go, all of you," he motioned to the rest of the dogs. Raf texted. Coming out of his bedroom into the big hall, Daddy asked, "Chunu, is that you? Have you brought the dogs?" "I have brought a pair of Great Danes," said Chunudada, touching his father's feet. "Come, I'll show you. They are inside the Jonga." They went towards the Jonga. "Where are they, Dada?" Samir asked somewhat impatiently. "In here," said Chunudada. He opened the Jonga's rear door and urged the pair to come out. "That's Sultan and this is Ruby." Chunudada proudly introduced the 2 enormous Great Danes, a dog and a bitch, as they stepped out. "They look superb," Samir cried out in excitement. "Saheb, they are frightening." Ganga Singh watched them from a distance. "Yes, that's why they are called Great Danes. They are just right for this lonely farmhouse," said Chunudada. The 2 Great Danes looked around. The bunch of 7 dogs stood away from the Jonga and growled at the newcomers. "Keep quiet." Samir tried to quieten them. "Come on, little ones. They're your new friends." "Hey, you two, come here," said Chunudada to Sultan and Ruby. The 2 did not budge. Chunudada patted them, muttering, "Come on, come on." "They are a fine pair, eh? Good size, too," said Daddy as he patted the new arrivals. Encouraged by Daddy's gesture, Samir went close to the pair and touched their fur hesitantly. "Look at them," cried Ganga Singh, pointing towards the little dogs which, by then, had collected near the gate. They were jowling and barking. Buddha, the hairy fawn Kalawi terrier, stood in front, assuming the leadership. Behind him had gathered Cherry and Pixie, the Tibetan terriers, and Callie, Dopu, and Toonie, the dachshunds. Samir went towards them to pacify them. "Buddha, why are you so angry?"
"Come, via sport."
He stroked the terrier, while Dopu and Pixie sniffed his hands. They were quite agitated, and Samir could sense that. Chanu Dada took Sultan and Ruby round the house. Samir accompanied him. The servants' kids peeped through the windows, eager to catch a glimpse of the huge new dogs. Finally, Sultan and Ruby were led to a room upstairs, where they rested on beds of gunny bag padded with straw. Food bowls were kept nearby. Chanu Dada, as usual, woke up early the next morning, but the little dogs were not there to greet him. Entering the hall, he called out, "Ganga Singh, where are Kali, Buddha, and the others? They must be somewhere outside." "Good morning, Dada," said Samir, getting up from the sofa. "I, too, missed my routine good morning from the little ones." "Come, let's see," said Chanu Dada. As both of them came out of the house, Kali, Dopu, and Perry rushed towards them. "Where were you, Buddha?" asked Chanu Dada affectionately. Buddha wagged his tiny tail, but didn't move from where he sat. "They are angry because the big dogs have come. How will they become friends if they don't even come into the house?" Samir asked anxiously. "They'll be all right. Don't worry." Samir pulled up a cane chair and was soon engrossed in a book. "Dopu, Dopu, Dopu, take it!" shouted Daddy from inside. Dopu and Pixie wagged their tails furiously and ran towards the house. A big growl from Buddha stopped them. Buddha's scornful gaze seemed to say, "I'm ashamed of you, greedy ones." Dopu and his companion turned round and slunk away. At breakfast, these dogs usually collected round Daddy, who gave them each some toast and jam from his plate. But this morning not even Dopu and Pixie, forever the hungry ones, went in to claim their share. "What's the matter? Why aren't the dogs coming in?" shouted Daddy. But the little dogs paid no heed. Instead, they rushed towards Ganga Singh's quarter, whining, and collected under his cot. On seeing Sultan and Ruby sprawled on the floor beside Daddy, they began barking furiously. "See, Daddy, they are so angry with the big dogs. Yet they are too scared to fight them," Samir said. "Yes, I can see that," replied Daddy thoughtfully. "These little dogs spent the night in my room." "They did not enter the house," explained Ganga Singh. "Chanu Dada came round the cattle house and stopped the tractor near the lawn, where his father and Samir sat. Chanu, the dogs are on strike." "Look," said his father, pointing towards Ganga Singh's room. "That afternoon Tuni gave birth to 5 pups, 4 dogs and a bitch, in Ganga Singh's room. Samir went to see them." "Come on, Tuni. I'll carry your babies and put them in a cozy blanket." "Come," urged Samir. As though she understood every word, Tuni spread herself close to her pups with a reluctant growl. Samir lost hope. He felt depressed. It was a pleasure to see the little dogs jump round Daddy for a share of his meal. "Chana Dada, let's do something. Buddha and company are still on strike," said Samir at dinner that night. "Don't worry. I'll take them for a ride in the Janga tomorrow." 5 days passed. Buddha and the little dogs would not come into the house. One day, Tuni's pups crawled out of the quarter, squeaking like a bunch of rats. Samir sat on the lawn enjoying the sun. A big eagle, hovering in the sky, cried shrilly when it saw the puppies. Sultan and Ruby cocked their ears. They looked up at the eagle. Samir looked up, too. Suddenly, the eagle swooped down and pounced on one of the pups with its claws. "No!" cried Samir in despair. Instantly, Sultan leapt with a swiftness that matched the eagle's dive. With a giant leap in the air, he caught the eagle in his mouth and shook it ferociously until it dropped the pup. The 7 little dogs, standing in a row at a distance, kept barking their heads off. Ruby hastened to the scared pup, picked it up with her mouth, and placed it gently among the other pups. It was now Toonie's turn to rush to her pup. She sniffed it all over, wagging her tail furiously. Satisfied, she turned to Ruby and licked her legs as if to thank her. Off she ran to Sultan and licked him too. "What's the matter?" asked Chanu Dada, who had been woken up by the noise of the dogs barking. Daddy and Ganga Singh also came running. Samir was wiping the sweat off his forehead. He was so shocked by the incident that he could hardly speak. He merely pointed towards the dogs. The little dogs had encircled Ruby and Sultan. Curled up between Sultan's paws was Buddha. Dopu, Pixie, and Perry played their never-ending game of chase, running round and round the Great Danes. "They are all one family now, Dada," said Samir, smiling contentedly.